Hello, Dungeons & Dragons fans. I'm Kevin Ripa. This is my Sans 3 Minutes Max. Moving on to the third of 4 pieces of our encryption puzzle is authentication. In the authentication puzzle, remember the 3 we've talked about so far: confidentiality, integrity, and now we're going to talk about authentication. Each one of them by themselves is no good. But I'm breaking these down each phase for you so you can see what's happening in that phase. Then in the end, we'll tie it all together. So in the authentication phase, we have Alice and we have Bob and Eve again. And this is authentication. How do we achieve authentication? Well, in order to get authentication, Bob needs to be able to open a message that Alice sent. But we need to be able to prove the authenticity of the message, and we do that by verifying the way that it was encrypted. Now, in the authentication phase, we use asymmetric encryption. You'll recall the key that locks is not the key that unlocks. We have a public-private key pair that are mathematically linked. And the only way that one of those keys will open the message is if it was encrypted by the other key and nothing else in the whole world. So, Alice has the symmetric key. Bob doesn't have the key. He needs to get that key so he can decrypt a message. Alice takes that symmetric key and she encrypts it using Bob's public key. Where did she get Bob's public key? Well, it's public. Everybody's got it, including Eve. She encrypts the symmetric key with Bob's public key and she gets ciphertext. Once she has this ciphertext, she sends it to Bob. Bob decrypts it using what? His private key. If his private key is able to decrypt this message, then he knows it could only have been encrypted with his public key. So he has the authentication, and he gets the symmetric key. What's wrong with authentication on its face? Well, who's got Bob's public key? Everybody, including Eve. If Eve's got Bob's public key, she can create whatever message she wants, send whatever symmetric key she wants, and she encrypted it with Bob's public key. So Bob's private key will decrypt it, and now Bob has a symmetric key. It's just not the symmetric key he should have. So now when he gets a message that he can decrypt with that symmetric key, he thinks everything's fine. But obviously it's not, because it all came from Eve. But that's how authentication works. In the meantime, and in between time, that's it. Another episode of 3 Minutes Max.